Welcome everybody to another one. Good morning to all, peace to all that's listening. If you're just tapping in, please hit the like button, also share. And if you're not subscribed to the channel, please go ahead and subscribe to the channel. I don't know why you didn't do it yet. Maybe you was busy, no sweat, but you're here now. Go ahead and subscribe to the channel and let's tap in. We here on part 11 of my prison journey. I want to say this, how much this means to me. This is I'm learning more about myself because of my journey. You know, I'm learning about the things that I probably didn't attend to as much as I should. And because I'm sharing this journey with you guys is helping me to better understand the areas that I need to be focusing on. I need to make sure I don't ignore those areas because, it can be a disaster later on down the road. But I'm excited, and I'm honored beyond words to be able to just sit here and share these words and be real with it, because doing time in prison is extremely, extremely difficult. I'm not talking about doing an overnight stay because of a DUI, things of that nature. Even though, an hour in jail is too much, but let's be real. We talking about doing an extended period of time where, you begin to lose loved ones. You begin to lose girlfriends, wives, baby mamas, etc., etc. And you can possibly start to even lose yourself in there because you in a confined environment, and the authorities in there, I'm gonna just tell you this, they don't have no issue with constantly reminding you of where you at. They don't have an issue of constantly reminding you of who the authority is and why, based on you coming here, why their reason is for completely crushing you and suppressing you. So, all that weight coming down at one time, if you're not strong enough, you could break. And I've seen a lot of men break into becoming something that's unbecoming of themselves, and a lot of it is surprising, but this is the pressure and the weight of what the weight of of doing time does to you. And it's a hell of a thing. It's deep. It's something that should be talked about a lot more, versus just the violent parts about doing time in prison. Though that is a reality, I'm gonna get into a little bit of that. I won't touch too far into it, but I'm gonna touch a little bit on that part of my journey, just to give you a glimpse. But I think more of the emotional weight and the mental weight of doing time in prison should be talked about a lot more, to give the people insight, the people that don't know, that's interested in knowing what the hell is going on in there. How did you get through that? What was your day like? How was your weekends? Was you able to eat as much as you can eat, or when you wanted to eat? How was it? Did you fight a lot? Did you get into argue? All these different things that, because we look at prison stories on TV, and sometimes, it doesn't it doesn't give an accurate description on what the hell is going on in there. So we need more men and possibly even women to get on up here and explain this thing. So anyway, we on part 11 of my prison journey. We on part 11, family. This won't be a very long one. Hopefully, you know how I get. Sometimes I just get to yep, and I don't know when to stop. But we on part 11, man, of my prison journey. We in the process of me and my attorney kind of preparing my case to be tried in federal court at trial. So, we going over discovery, you know, and discovery is just all the evidence that the government intends to use against you as evidence in trial if you go to trial. Or, even if you cop out, it's still evidence that they're willing to use against you. So, as I said before, they didn't have no video surveillance, no recordings, no any of that, you know. So in addition to that, we had a hearing to disclose the identity of the confidential informant. That was denied, right? Now, I did my due diligence and was kind of studying my case. They have a computer on each unit, a law library computer. You kind of log in with your ID number and whatnot and give you a PIN, and you could kind of look up cases, And I stumbled across a Supreme Court case, right, that states that, well, this is how the case went. Let me try to go through the case very quickly. The case was a heroin case, delivery of heroin. The police was in the trunk of the car, hiding obviously, and just listening to the conversation in the car. The drug transaction. Confidential informant is in there. They talking. They make the exchange. He get the drugs. The confidential informant get the drugs. The actual dealer gets the money. Confidential informant leaves. Well, the defendant leaves out. The drug dealer leaves out. Confidential informant drives away. Short time later, opens the trunk. The police jumps out the trunk, and they have the evidence. Now, this defendant, he put in some motions to suppress the evidence. One of the motions he put in was to disclose the identity of the confidential informant. In the district court, the lower courts, which is under the Supreme Court, they denied the motion, stating that, they don't want to compromise the identity of the confidential informant. I don't remember the exact reasoning for that, but this was their reasoning. The defendant appealed that decision and went all the way to the Supreme Court, the highest court. The Supreme Court overturned the decision of the lower court, the district court, stating that even though the officer was present in the trunk of the car and listened to, the actual cell, the defendant still has the right under the Sixth Amendment to confront his accuser and cross-examine his accuser on the stand at trial. So when they denied that, we was actually in the hearing, they denied that, I presented that case to my attorney, and he was like, wow, where'd you get this case from? I said, well, I would imagine the same place that, that you can get the case from. I looked it up on the law library computer. He said, at the time he had a BlackBerry, this is a long time ago. I don't know anything about no smartphones. BlackBerry was kind of like, if you had one of those, you was kind of lit. Equivalent to maybe having an iPhone or something like that. So he looked up the case and he's like, wow. He was like, I'm gonna put another motion in and argue it this way. I said, okay, no problem. That's what we need. And they denied it. Again, the reason why they denied it, they saying we don't want to compromise the identity of the confidential informant because we are using him now in another investigation. And we don't want to compromise his identity, and then it blows the current investigation that we have him working right now. And in my mind, I'm like, well, what does that have to do with me? Not my fault that y'all using him in another investigation. I'm concerned right now about my case and what it is I can do to suppress this evidence. So they denied it, along with many of the other motions that we filed. They denied it. In the process and all in process of all that, the government they put a motion in to redact some of the statements that the female said at the grand jury. What do I mean by redact? What I mean by redact is that they're not gonna use every part of the testimony from start to finish. They only gonna use the portion that they believe will help their case. And that portion of the grand jury that they want to use, take a good guess. Think. They want to use the part where she said, yes, he did stay there some nights, and yes, he did have clothes there for the nights that he did stay there. Those are the parts that they want to use because this is how they want to secure their conviction. So we had a hearing on that. We opposed it. We obviously lost. And the evidence was allowed to be used at a trial. There were certain motions that I had to go to the Federal Detention Center in Philadelphia because my judge, he does cases both in Allentown, Pennsylvania, and he's stationed sometimes in Philadelphia doing cases. So the weeks that he was in Philadelphia, if I had a hearing on, in relations to the days where he's up there, they would transfer me over to the Federal Detention Center in Philadelphia, and I will have to stay there until, I actually have the hearing, which would be maybe a couple days to a week. And, it's that's a journey within itself. Because being in that institution is very different from being in Lehigh County Prison because it's actually run like an actual federal prison. The commissary is way different from Lehigh County Prison commissary. Federal Detention Center, they got rice, mackerels, pasta. They got all these different kind of cooking items that they don't provide in these regular county jails. So I'm like blown away, And then the phone system is different. You can actually put money on your phone, and when you make the call, the person that you're calling doesn't get charged for the call. It comes right off the money that you put on for the call. So that was like mind blowing. I'm like, wow, man, I kind of need to stay here. You know what I'm saying? Like this is where I need to be at. But I knew it was gonna be a short stay. So had the hearing, went back to Lehigh County, and I'm there just kind of waiting and seeing when we gonna be scheduled for trial. Which is it's stressful at times because you going into it dealing with the unknown, because you can possibly lose. The deck really stacked against me and anybody that's trying to fight the federal government. So, that's beating on my mind like, man, But I knew in my heart that I wasn't willing just to cop out and accept 15 years. So I had to try to come to terms and accept the fact that I can possibly lose this, and there's a possibility that I can get a life sentence, because that's the max on the charge. 15 the minimum, life the max. Now it doesn't mean you're gonna get the life, but that is on the table. Let's be very clear about that. So my mind is just so, my emotions is all over the place. My mind is all over the place. I'm trying to gather myself. And at times I'm kind of losing myself because, I don't know what's going to happen. People are walking away from me. At times I feel like I'm just doing this all alone. When I was an individual that was kind of looking out for a lot of people and, not looking for anything in return, but you would think that in your time of need, the people that you need the most will be there. But they weren't there as much as they should. So that was crushing for me. And then dealing with a case that you know, when all else fails, I'm doing 15 years no matter what. I can't duck that at all. You know, so yeah, so we're gonna stop on this one here, this part 11 here, because I want to save, you know, the beginning of, you know, the phase to get ready for trial for the next part. And I hope that you learning something from this. You know, if you are in the streets, in the underworld, you know, I'm begging you to try to find a different way. Try to find a better way, because I'm gonna tell you this, man. The streets is over. It's over. There's no more loyalty. You know, there's no more genuineness. There's no love. Not that it ever had any of that, but none of those false perceptions that we thought the streets was about is all gone. You know, just look at social media. Look at what's going on. It's bad out there, so why would you gamble with your life and put your life in the hands of these people to put you away forever? A lot of you are young, don't really know what direction you want to go in, and you think that the streets is the only way. You got to pick something different. And if you decide that you want to stay there and you believe in your heart that that's your destiny, then please, by all means, if you do that, when you do get caught up, if and when, pardon me, you do get caught up, because it's coming, I don't want to hear no crying. I don't want to hear no telling, no point, no finger. Take your licking like a man. So I'm out of here, folks. Thank you for tapping in. Like I always said, please hit the like button. Also share. If you're not subscribed to the channel, please go ahead and subscribe to the channel. I'm going to leave you as I came, as I always do. Remember, your potential for greatness is unlimited.